What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel Wealth Hacker Labs. I am your gracious host, Jeff Rose. So as you probably, hopefully know already, the HEROES Act. So this is the second economic stimulus package that is currently being presented as an option. The Democrats brought that to light last week. Last Friday, there was a vote. The House of Representatives passed this bill. That does not mean that you have a second check coming to you next week, next month, maybe not even this year. But what that does mean is that now it needs to go to the Senate. And after the Senate, then the president has to pass this bill. If it does pass, it could mean that a second economic stimulus check, AKA a $1,200 check, is coming your way. As just in case this isn't clear yet, this isn't 100%. This hasn't passed. It passed the first stage, which is an important stage, but also keeping in mind that this was a bill that was presented by the Democrats, and the House is pretty much owned by the Democrats, so that's why it passed that stage. So got to deal with the Republicans in the Senate, and obviously we know the president and his political affiliation. So as it's already been stated, like, this thing is dead on arrival. There has to be some amendments, there has to be some changes made before this thing actually gets passed in as a law. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, right now, obviously the politicians are doing their thing. They're doing their dog and pony show, just making sure that looks like they're representing the people. But also one of the other reasons is waiting to see, what was the impact of the first $1,200 stimulus package, the CARES Act. Obviously, a few weeks ago, there wasn't a lot of data that could actually support to show, what impact, all of these stimulus checks had. All this money that's being sent out to Americans, how is it being spent? Where is it being spent? And just wanting to wait and see. Now, do I actually know for sure, that this is the reason why they are waiting? I don't know, but I do know that a lot of the Republicans are saying that, before we start, and I'm sure Democrats are saying this, I don't want to make one party sound better than the other. So let's just agree that they're wanting to see, before we start printing even more money, what impact, where's the money going? How's it being spent? Is it truly impacting the economy? Is it truly stimulating the economy the way that it was intended to? Prior to a couple weeks ago, there really wasn't any data that supported this. Well, now there actually is. So one of the things I wanted to address today is how fast are these checks being spent, how fast it's being spent, and also answer the question, where is it being spent? So I'll have all these articles. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger so you can see it in the description, so you can go and read on your own leisure. But basically, here's an article on MarketWatch that was addressing that question. How fast are Americans spending their stimulus checks? And if you scroll down this article, it actually shows how quickly the money was going. So right now, they surveyed, I think it was about 1,600 people, and this is what they found out. So in the first 3 days, let me make this bigger, even bigger, so you can see this. All right, make sure my head's not covering up. Let me move myself over. There we go. All right, so in the first 3 days, after the stimulus check receipt, spending increased between $50 to $75 a piece on expenditures like food and non-durable goods, a category that includes supplies like laundry detergent, pens, paper towels, baby wipes, you got it. Now, the one thing I didn't also want to point out here is that the expenditures increased on non-durable goods. Now, to kind of give you some context here, what is going on is that, basically give you some context, back in 2008, there was a first stimulus package. So this was what was presented back after the Great Recession and what happened after the financial crisis, the mortgage crisis. And back then, there was stimulus checks that were sent out. Now, these were not nearly as much as what you're seeing right now. Those ranged anywhere between $300 to $600. It actually points this out in this article. So when that happened, keeping in mind that this was a different time frame, right? There's a different situation going on. Back in 2008, yes, people were dealing with housing crisis and losing homes and losing jobs and losing thousands of dollars in their 401k. But the difference then is that people were not quarantined. People could actually go out and spend this money. A little bit different in this time frame. People can't go out and spend money unless they're going to Walmart, grocery stores, buying takeout. So the money that's being spent now is going towards non-durable goods, food, paper towels, toilet paper, all that good stuff. But people aren't going to the local dealership to start looking at new cars. They're not going to a furniture store to buy a new couch. So what we're seeing is like, this is what the increase in spending is. So I just wanted to kind of point that out to give you some context of what happened in the last stimulus package going back to 2008 as opposed to what's going on right now. All right, so let's go back to this article. And let's see, so during that same time, the purchase of durable goods increased by $20 in those first 3 days. And this category includes cars, appliances, furniture, other things meant for longer use. I think it's funny they say it increased by $20, but I don't really know how many cars that you are buying for $20 there. Just a random thought there. All right, what else do I have to say? On the whole, households spent around 1/4 to 1/3 of their stimulus check money within 10 days of receipt. So 10 days of receipt, the money's being spent. So that's good. And actually, I think it shows that if people had, depending on how much they had in savings, how much they have in cash reserves, if people had less in cash, they were spending more of that stimulus check. If they had more in cash, they weren't spending as much, which makes sense. I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense. So we're getting a sense of like how quickly the money's being spent. So the government's sending these checks out, people are getting them. I guess we'll say most people are getting them. I know some of you are still waiting for your physical check to be sent to you via snail mail. So people are getting these checks and they're doing what people hope, that it's going back into the economy. But the question here, or let's say the concern is, where is that money being spent? As we are seeing here, we're seeing more of an increase on non-durable goods, and that's actually what we'll address here in this next article. So this is on Forbes. Once again, you can check this out. And the title of this article talks about new stimulus needed, $1,200 check had little impact on the economy. Now it's a catchy headline, makes you interested. This is basically addressing the new CARES Act that was just passed, talking about the $3 trillion stimulus, everything that's being included in the HEROES Act, and how that's more than the HEROES Act, and just giving some perspective. So if you look at where is this information coming from, so this is all based off some research findings that were done at the Kellogg Insight. This is done by Scott R. Baker of the Kellogg Graduate School of Management, also some guys from the Columbia Business School and the University, somebody from the University of Chicago's both School of Business and also University of Southern Denmark. So you had all of these really, really smart people that were doing all this research based off some of the data that we were just looking at in that previous MarketWatch video. And once again, I'll have a link to this. And then from here, you can actually go to the actual research study that was done at the Kellogg Insight. And one of the things that I noted here, just writing down some of my notes, and I think right off the bat, it talks about, which I just alluded to, that going back into 2008, that over 90%, I want to make sure I'm quoting this correct, but let's just say a large portion, I know I saw that stat in here somewhere, but a large portion of those checks that went out back in 2008 went towards mostly automobiles, mostly cars. So people got their $600 check and they're going down to the local Chevy dealership and they're buying a new Camaro, maybe they're going to buy a new Mustang. I don't know what they're buying, but a majority of that money was going towards the auto industry. Right now, obviously, I don't know anybody that's bought a new car in the last 6 weeks. I know for me, I think I've actually been in my car maybe 6 times in the last 6 weeks. So I definitely know that I'm not buying a new car. I don't think the dealerships are even open. So that's going back then. And so what they're looking at with this research is, where is this money going? And what they're finding out is that, and this makes a lot of sense, is it's not going towards a lot of different industries. You know, we see it in the restaurant industry. Like the restaurant industry, for sure, like they're benefiting. But actually, here it is. So I finally found it. So in 2008, those who received stimulus payments were much more likely to use the money towards these types of items, with 90% of durable purchases going towards auto spending. Like, that's huge. Other areas it points out, you know, that we're not seeing people spend money on are travel. You know, airline industries is not getting any of this stimulus money. The hotels, any sort of like furniture stores, appliance stores. I don't know if you know anybody that's bought a new refrigerator, new washer and dryer, you know, for over the last several weeks. So I think really kind of what the concern here is, and you got to keep in mind, right? Like, yes, you had the PPP loans, and a lot of different companies were getting these big checks from, you know, the government to help out with the system, help out with employees, help out with just to keep their business afloat. But there are a lot of these restaurants and other companies that are still benefiting from the stimulus money, from people that actually can use their services, can buy their product. But you think of the airlines, yes, they got money on the back end, but no one's getting their stimulus check and going and booking travel, you know, to go to New York, go to LA, to visit, to go stay at a hotel, to go on a family vacation. So you have to remember, keeping in mind that, you know, in Washington, you have these lobbyists, and you have lobbyists for the airlines industry. You have lobbyists for the auto industry. And, and these lobbyists have impact, have influence on a lot of these politicians. And I could almost expect that they are wanting to wait until the country is opening back up, so that if a second wave of stimulus money comes, the auto industry, the airline industry, electronics, appliances, all these big box stores that people aren't shopping at right now. I was actually just reading an article just talking about how people going out to eat, and I think this was actually here in the state of Tennessee, I believe, you know, but then it compared it to like Best Buy, where yes, you can go, I think you can place an order, you can go and they'll bring it out to your car, but you actually can't go shop. Oh, I know what it was. It was people going to Nike. Like, I guess it was some mall, I forgot where it was, but people were waiting in line at Nike to buy, I don't know what. I don't think there were any Jordan drops? I mean, I think there were some shoes. I don't know. I should know this. My son would know. He would correct me. I know the Jordan 5s just came out. Whole other story. But people were waiting in line at Nike for I don't know what, you know, to just, I assume, help stimulate the economy. But with Best Buy, like, you couldn't go in and shop. I guess you could place an order and then go there and pick it up. But like, that's a whole different experience. And actually going in and be able to see stuff and load up your cart, you know, like you just got money that's just burned a hole in your pocket. So I think this is one of the main reasons why I still feel there is going to be some sort of second wave, some sort of second check. But now it makes a lot more sense that we have some data to support, to back this up, to show where money's being spent, how it's being spent, and before they issue another check, what sort of changes, what sort of adjustments need to be made, so that, I mean, I know you can't make everybody happy, but you know, with lobbyists and how everything works, that people, I mean, especially the auto industry there, I mean, okay, there's a reason why it took so long for Tesla to actually have some sort of impact, you know, with electric cars. Like Chevy, Ford, all these big auto companies, they've been sitting on this technology for years, but you got the oil oil companies having their say. I mean, so like this is all the stuff that's just what's going on, which is the stuff that we already know. It's just not being spoken. They don't talk about this stuff when they're saying, well, yeah, we need to get you a second economic stimulus check. But here's a real reason why it hasn't been passed yet, because we got to make sure that we're making everybody happy that's helping support us. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You get it. You know how it works. So that's what we're dealing with. Once again, I'll have all this information so you can take a look and decide on your own. Does this give some more insight as to why we're still waiting? I know many of you are very pessimistic that you don't think that a second economic stimulus check is going to happen. Many of you believe this because you haven't got your first check. What's your thoughts? What do you think? Do you think that a second check is coming? Let us know in the comments below. Appreciate you being a subscriber to the Wealth Hacker Nation. This is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome. Until next time, peace.